Hello, everyone. It is Ashley with CourtReserve. I'm so excited to talk to you guys this week. It's all about integrations on our Thursday Spark webinar. We have Josh Willie and Ryan Mayer from our integrations team. So excited to talk to you guys today. But of course, before we get started, let's talk about what you really should be thinking about is when you and your team are going to be coming to Catalyst. We're filling up. We're going to do a day and a half. Columbus, Ohio, we're going to match point pickleball the first half day. It's 4 hours of roundtable discussions. We're going to play and network. And then the next day, we're going to do an all day teaching on CourtReserve. So go ahead and get your tickets for Columbus today. All of these are already filling up. And I'm so excited because I know Josh and Ryan will be at some of these and we always have a great time. And then don't forget, next week on our Spark webinar series, we're going to be talking about guest management. And the following week, it's what's new in CourtReserve. And if you guys could only imagine the amount of stuff that we are pushing out right now, I know Josh and Ryan have been working really hard on a bunch of stuff that they're going to share with us today. So I'm looking forward to this. I think we should go ahead and get started, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ashley. Welcome, everybody. I am Josh Willie. I am the product manager for integrations and API over at CourtReserve. And as Ashley mentioned, we have Ryan here today, our director of integrations and partnerships. Ryan, I'll
Of
hand it off to you to introduce yourself.
course. Thanks, Josh. Yeah, Ryan Maher here, Director of Integrations and Partnerships. In a former life, I was in a similar role over at Duper. Very excited to be joining the team here, started in November, and we're scaling the integrations and partnership side at CourtReserve and excited to be on the call.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, today we're going to be talking about all things integrations. I'll be showcasing a few of our different integrations, and I'll be focusing on the different categories that those integrations provide for you. So, video recording, access control, and things like that. And I'll also be touching on a new integration in the video recording space that we announced yesterday, just in case anybody has not seen that announcement yet. But first, I kind of just want to go over why integrations exist and why they are important in CourtReserve. As you all know, in order to manage or run a facility, you need to use multiple tools in order to do that. As much as we try to build those tools in CourtReserve in-house, it's just inevitable that you're going to have to use a tool outside of CourtReserve to help manage or run your facility. And the issue that you can run into with that is when all of these tools are disconnected and you do not have a way to centralize all of these tools or the data that you're getting from these tools. So the main benefit with an integration is, if we are not going to be building that functionality in-house at CourtReserve, we can find a partner who has the best in-class tools in the industry, and we can integrate that functionality into CourtReserve while keeping it as a seamless experience for your players. So that way they never have to leave the CourtReserve app or member portal in order to use those services. Or as an admin, you still having the ability to get the reporting and the data that you need from those integrations, even if on the back end, a Save My Play or a PlaySite may be running all of the functionality. Another strategic thing that is important for us at CourtReserve, especially with integrations, is making sure that CourtReserve stays as the single source of truth. Like I kind of just mentioned previously, we want to make sure that even if we do have an integration working on the back end, you are still getting all of the information that you need while you're inside of CourtReserve. And same goes for the players. Another thing that we try to focus in on as well is making sure that we're not forcing you to lock in with a single provider in order for that integrated experience. So something that me and Ryan always talk about in a lot of our conversations is how can we make sure that we're providing multiple options in the same category or for the same service. So that way you have that flexibility that you need to pick the option that's going to fit best for your facility and your needs. So with that, I am going to showcase a few of the integrations that we currently have available right now, and just kind of walk through how they work. If we do have multiple providers for that same service, I will also try to highlight the differences between each provider, just so you get that insight. So let me share my screen here. do the entire screen. There we are. Awesome. So first, I'm going to touch on access control in the two different providers that we have there. So we do integrate with both Brivo and RemoteLock, and how those integrations work at a high level will work the same way with both providers, but there will be some differences between which provider that you pick. So at a high level, if we're talking about access control and how that's going to work in CourtReserve, with the access control integration, this is a way for you to restrict players from entering your facility unless they have a reservation or they have a registration to an event on their account. And with that, with both of these integrations, there will be a PIN code that the user would need to use in order to enter the facility. How it differs between both providers is at what level that PIN code is generated at. So with RemoteLock, the PIN code is going to be generated at a reservation or event level. So if I book a singles reservation, I'm going to get a unique PIN code for that singles reservation. And if I book a future reservation, that future reservation will have a different unique PIN code. Whereas with Brivo, I'm going to get a 6-digit PIN code assigned to my member account, and that PIN code is not going to change. It's going to stay the same unless we manually go and reset that PIN code for the player. But with that, in either case, I would only be able to successfully use that PIN code to enter the facility if I have a reservation on my account or if I am registered into an event. And with that, as an admin, you would get to control the access control rules for when a player would be required to use that PIN code. So if we go to the edit page here, when I'm creating this rule, I get to choose when we are going to be requiring that PIN code access. So if we're a staffless facility and we need the PIN code to be used at all times, we can make sure that this is not rule specific and that this is just the case 24/7. If we maybe are a staff facility, but we offer after hours reservations for some of our membership tiers, we can also pick and choose when that PIN code is going to be required. So in this case, I have it running every day, but it's only required between 10 p.m. to midnight because that's when I'm offering my after hours reservations. On top of that, we can also add buffer minutes to the start and the end of the reservation. So if I want players to be able to enter the facility 15 minutes before their reservation start time, I would be able to do so. And we can also add that to the end. So if I want to give the player 10 minutes after their end time to enter the facility, just in case they forgot something at the facility, maybe we would be able to do that as well. So again, at a high level, the integration is going to work the same way for both providers. The player is going to be required to have a reservation or a registration on their account in order to use their PIN code to enter the facility. But with RemoteLock, the PIN code is going to be generated at that booking or that reservation level. Whereas with Brivo, it's going to be offered at the member level, and it's not going to be unique with each booking. It's going to stay the same on the member's account. So those are the differences between the different providers that we have for access control. Another category where we have multiple integration providers is going to be food and beverage. So we are also integrated with both GoTab and PourMyBev, giving you that option in the case where maybe you want to integrate with a GoTab because you have a full kitchen at your facility. Or maybe you're just trying to dip your toes into food and beverage, or you just want to offer beverages and you want to go forward with an integration with a provider like PourMyBev. And the two experiences between these two integrations is going to be pretty different. So I would like to showcase the differences between those integrations. First, I'm going to start off with PourMyBev. So to give some context around how this integration works, PourMyBev has a self-pour tap station that can be installed at your facility. They do also have some mobile ones with 2 to 4 taps on them. And on those tap stations, there's going to be a QR code reader. And that's how the tap station is going to know which player this beverage that's being poured should be associated with. So with the PourMyBev integration, a player would be able to go directly into their mobile app homepage, and we're going to have this PourMyBev row where the player can click on scan to pour. And from this page, we're going to have the QR code that is linked to the player account. With this integration, we can also add some age restrictions to who should be able to pour that beverage, because Pour My Bev does offer alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages. So the system's going to know which ones are alcoholic beverages. In those cases, we can set up the age verification and require that. For the non-alcoholic beverages, we can make sure that there's not an age restriction there, so that if somebody is underage, they can still pour coffee or soda or anything like that. But from the player perspective, they're really just going into their CourtReserve homepage on their mobile app. They're scanning their QR code. And then from there, when they pour that beverage, the system knows that that beverage should be linked to this player's account. Now, I don't have this case to showcase today, but after I have poured a beverage using my QR code, the system is going to know that I now have a tab open. And once I have at least one beverage poured, there's going to be another button here where I can pay my tab. And that would give me a list of all the beverages that I have poured. And then from there, I can pay for that beverage. So this allows, with the integration, all of that billing and all of those fees that are being generated to stay in CourtReserve, so that CourtReserve stays as the source of truth when looking at the balance that's on the player's account.
And Josh, I just want to pop in and speak to the three integrations you've talked to this point. These are what I consider self-service integrations or partners. These are revenue drivers, where it takes a little bit of time off of your staff, right? The access control, the ability to open your facility before you want to staff it, and allow people to come book reserve courts during those hours and get a little more money out of your members, right? Without having to have staff on site. And then Pour My Bev, that same thing, but in a little bit of a different package. You're allowing your staff to be freed up to actually provide customer service to your members, and the members are kind of taking that step to get their own drink, and it's freeing up time. So these self-service integrations and partnerships are great ways to drive revenue and, remove some friction points within the facility as well.
Awesome. Yes. Thanks for calling that out, Ryan. That's a great point. Yeah, so Pour My Bev, this is one of those food and beverage integrations that we have. The second one that we have is GoTab, for those facilities that are offering both food and beverage. So the GoTab experience is going to be a little bit different here. So with GoTab, most of this is going to be happening in the GoTab POS or in one of the GoTab links that a player may be opening. But here we're looking at the menu from GoTab. This is me as a player being able to choose what I would like to order at the facility. And how this integration works is, once we have our order ready to go and we go to the checkout page, once we're ready to place this order, we're going to have two options here. So we can process the payment directly through GoTab if we wanted to. If this was somebody that maybe didn't have a CourtReserve account, we could still go this route and pay with GoTab through our provider in GoTab. But the other option is to push this fee into CourtReserve. Similar to what I was saying with GoTab, this is a way to make sure that CourtReserve is that single source of truth when a player is looking at their balance. So that way, it's not just the reservations that are on their balance and then they need to go somewhere else to pay for their beverages or anything like that. It can all live inside of the balance that's on the CourtReserve account. So in this integration, all we'll need to do is put the player's last name and their member ID from CourtReserve. Once we do that, then this fee is going to be generated inside of CourtReserve, and it's going to live on the player's account. We can also set up this integration to require upfront payment. So if you want this total to be paid for immediately, we would be able to do so. If we didn't want it to require upfront payment, and maybe we're going to send an invoice later that week or that month, we have the option to do that as well. And both for the GoTab and the Pour My Bev integration, you can require payment profile. So that way the player needs to have a credit card on file in order to utilize either of these integrations, so that in the case where maybe they forget to pay their tab or their total in GoTab, you would have the option of processing that payment from the admin side for those players. Awesome. All right. So the next category that I'm going to touch on is leagues and events. Right now, the two current integrations that I'll kind of highlight here is both Swish and Duper. So Duper, of course, allows us to get the Duper rating for a player and have that in CourtReserve, so we can utilize that rating as a rating restriction whenever we're creating an event. And then with Swish, that allows us to have event registration set up on the CourtReserve side. And then once we're ready, we can push that event to Swish. So that way you can use all of the league management functionality that is inside of Swish. So how the Swish integration is going to work and how we can tie Duper into this is when we are creating an event or managing an event, the registration aspect of this event is going to be managed in CourtReserve. So if we want to set up any type of event restrictions, rating restrictions, so that only players in a certain rating range could register, we would be able to do all of that in CourtReserve while we're creating that event. So if I scroll down here under registration restrictions, I would be able to set up all of those parameters around Duper ratings to make sure that, only certain ranges of ratings could register into this event. And then how the Swish integration is going to work is once we have that event running, once we have all of the registrants that we need for that event, we can then push it to Swish. You sync to Swish. Once you have all of those registrants ready, you'll be able to choose the game format that we want to push onto this event when we move it over into Swish. So then once we do that, the event then exists in Swish, and you can use all of the league management functionality in Swish's software. As you can see, we are working on some other integrations with some other providers for league management. More to come on that. Not ready to exactly share all the details for that, but we will be ready in the near future for that one. And then the last two that I'll touch on, marketing and retention. We do have an integration with patch retention. This is a great way to create some behavior triggered campaigns in patch. So for example, let's say a player has not registered for an event in 30 days. We can create an automated campaign in patch that will send, emails or text to those players, and you have the customization to choose, the actual content that you want to put in that campaign. Patch does also do a great job of just making sure that there are some pre-filled content that you can use within those automations to make it easier on your side, but you of course do have the freedom to customize those campaigns and the messages within them however you would like to. And lastly, I do want to touch on video recording. Because we did announce yesterday that we do also have an integration with PlaySite. So now we have an integration with both Save My Play and PlaySite. And I do want to take some time to go over how these integrations differ from each other. Very similar to how I was explaining it with access control. The two integrations at a very high level are going to work the same way. But of course, those different providers may have different ways or little different features within that flow that differ from each other. So first, I'll start off with Save My Play. So if a player is in the mobile app, we're going to have this Save My Play row here. And this is going to be how a player can initiate a recording on their account. As an admin, when you are setting up the Save My Play integration, you will be mapping the Save My Play court with your CourtReserve court to make sure those are mapped correctly. And then you can also set up pricing based on membership types. So if you do have different membership types and you want to offer different pricing for recordings, you would be able to do so. And we do also have some recording restrictions in place. So that way a player can only record the appropriate court at the appropriate time. So I can say that a player can only record specific courts if they have a reservation on it or an event registration on it. And we can even go a step further and say that they can only record the reserved courts after they have checked into the facility. So we're making sure that they have checked into that reservation or to that event before they even have the chance to initiate a recording on that court. But the flow here is going to be very simple for the player. So they just pick the court or the courts that they would like to record on. And then they can choose the duration of that recording. And now we're going to get into how Save My Play and PlaySite differ in how that recording is processed. So with Save My Play, we're going to have two different recording types. We're going to have both a condensed and a full option. The condensed option is going to use AI to cut out the dead time in that recording, and it'll process those dead cuts, take them out, or those dead times, cut them out, and then send the player this condensed version of that recording. Or we can do a full uninterrupted recording with none of those cuts in the dead time, cut down on some of that processing time that may be needed on Save My Play's end and send that recording over to the player. So with Save My Play and with PlaySite, I'll kind of go over the flow here. So after I have selected the court, the time, and the recording type, looks like I'm running into a little error here, but we would be able to see any recordings that are in progress. We would be able to see the amount of time that is remaining on that recording. And if I want to end that recording early manually, I would be able to do so. And then after a recording has been processed, it's going to live in the My Recordings tab here. So I'd be able to view any recordings that I have recorded, in the last 30 days, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. And when I click on that recording, it will re-navigate me to the Save My Play URL to view that recording. Now with PlaySite, let me jump over to my other account here. The general flow is going to work the same way here. So when a player goes into their mobile app, when they go to the PlaySite page, it's going to be a row here for PlaySite instead. And when we click the Record My Session page, same flow here. I'll be able to choose the court or courts that I'd like to record. I'd be able to choose the duration of that recording. But the difference here is going to be the recording types that PlaySite offers. So PlaySite does offer a recording that's uninterrupted, no cuts in dead time or anything like that. But they do also offer an AI highlights recording option. And in order to use this recording type, there is a subscription that the player would need to pay for in order to utilize that. But this will give them the analytics around their recording after that recording has been processed. So not necessarily AI to cut out the dead time for that recording, but it will give them and highlight some analytics based on that recording that was recorded for their reservation or for their event. But from there, after they have started that recording and ended it, just like with the Save My Play flow, all of those recordings are going to live on the My Recordings page where the player can view their most recent recordings. And when they click on that, it will take them to the PlaySite URL to view that recording. Awesome. So those were the categories that I wanted to touch on. Ryan, it doesn't look like we have any questions in the Q&A right now. Is there anything else that you wanted to add here?
No, I just wanted to really just double down on what you said previously in the intro, Josh, is, we're looking at these buckets of integration, these categories, and our goal is to provide options, right? The bigger goal is to remove friction, but after that friction's been removed through an integration, it's to provide multiple options within categories. We want our customers to feel like they can pick and choose the integrations that make sense for them. So just wanted to touch on that piece.
Awesome. Thank you. And we don't have any specific updates on anything that is in the works right now, but I will say that we are working on some integrations, as you may have seen, related to league management and some different providers that we can offer for you. We also have some different integrations in the works related to public booking and some different avenues for players to publicly book. So we have a lot of things that are exciting in the works. We'll definitely have some more specifics and some more information in the near future. We're just wrapping a few things up on our end, and we'll be able to share them publicly soon. So we're super excited about that. It looks like we don't have any questions here, so I think we may be good to go.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, for anybody that may have missed this recording or missed this live webinar, it will be on our YouTube channel if you do want to rewatch it in the future. Most likely 24 hours from now, we'll have it uploaded to the YouTube channel. It did look like somebody had raised their hand. For who raised their hand, if you could throw your question into the Q&A section so that we're able to see that, I'll be happy to answer any question that you have. You can also jump over to support and just say that you were in this webinar. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you have as well.
Oh, there we go, Josh. We got one. So can you help facilitate meetings with providers? Yes, 100%. And Josh, maybe you can touch on that a little bit further on what that process would look like.
Yeah, so it depends on the specific integration, but in most of our knowledge base articles for the different integrations that we offer, we do go through the first steps that you'll want to take. So for something like Save My Play or a PlaySite, we do have some interest forms that you can fill out, and that interest form will go straight to PlaySite or Save My Play's team. So it differs with some of our integrations just based on the sales process that the integration partner has. But typically, we're going to have that information in the knowledge base article. And of course, if you can't find that, feel free to reach out to our support team, and we're happy to help you make sure you're getting the context that you need to get started there.
Perfect.
Awesome. Any other questions, or was that the last one?
That was it. Nothing else has popped up.
Okay, great. Well, again, if any other questions do come up after, feel free to reach out to support. They'll be happy to get me or Ryan's attention and answer any questions that you may have. And again, we'll have this recording up on the YouTube channel in at least 24 hours. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Hope you all have a great day.
Thank you.